All right. All right. The Scituate School Committee is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. With that, we'll call the December 16th school committee meeting to order here at 6:01, and we'll begin with public comment. Seeing no virtual hands raised, no one in person who would like to talk and speak, we'll move forward to our student leadership report.
Hello, thank you for having me. So tonight, for my updates, last Friday night a parade was held for the football team, cheerleaders, and dance team for winning the Division 4 state title, and the following football players were named the Boston Herald All-Scholastic Athletes. Ronan Manning, Lawson Foley, and Willie Robinson, so big congratulations to them. Principal Arranger and his administration team held a coffee for caregivers on Wednesday, December 11th, and new pair data on school culture and attendance were shared. Also last week, 2 winter concerts were performed at Scituate High School, and the band and chorus members did an incredible job. The new pair data showed that students at Scituate High School feel more comfortable and connected to the school. 5% or less reported feeling little connection to the high school, and administration is putting a plan in place so that 100% of students feel a connection to the high school in the near future. New attendance data shows a decrease in students' absences by almost 10 students per day and tardies by a little over 10 students per day. And last week, ice cream sandwiches were served at lunches for any student with perfect attendance or high honors in term 1 or semester. Some guidance news includes that on Monday, December 2nd, freshman counselor Katie Lavo and adjustment counselors Elizabeth Clancy give a presentation, Finding Yourself at Scituate High School, to 8th graders to show middle schoolers what to expect as they transition to 9th grade. Students learned about different class offerings at Scituate High School, how to utilize wind blocks, and the importance of staying connected to the school community through clubs and sports. Student representatives from the high school in grades 9 through 12 were engaged and were allowed to share what they've done in high school that has made their experience memorable. And they talked about what a typical day looks like. And they also explained the importance of getting an early start on community service hours. So counselors have kicked off the post-secondary planning process for juniors. They introduced SCORE, a system that is used to connect the high school to colleges, to all juniors during the academic advisory on December 2nd, followed by a caregiver presentation on Thursday, December 12th. Counselors will meet with juniors one-on-one later this week, not one-on-one, in their history classes to review important steps in the process, but they're always welcome to meet one-on-one. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you so much. Well, all right, we have our leadership report up next with Dr. Rabb.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. So when it comes to the 26 budget preparations, I have good news and I have bad news. The good news is that nothing has changed. Everything is the same. The bad news is nothing has changed and everything is the same. So the point being is we're still at the 1.85% increase that I mentioned a month ago. However, last week, Mr. Burkett, Mr. Lynch, Dr. Bobert, and I met with all the principals. We reviewed all the building budgets, we reviewed personnel and expenses, and we're able to really start putting together a budget that will work in those parameters. Like I said, I consider this, a level funded budget or level services budget, but a real focus on district strategic objectives. So whenever you're in a tough budget situation, you go back to the district strategic objectives, you go back to what we've committed to, and that's where the dollars go. And that was a resounding, agreement from all the principals. All the department heads have put in their requests, and Mr. Lynch and I are meeting on Wednesday morning to go over those. And then I should be able to have budget books by mid-January in preparation for our February 1st meeting. So everything's running, nothing has really changed. We'll see when Chapter 70 comes in, we'll see how health insurance looks in January. But like I said, we might gain a couple of more dollars, but not a lot. We're planning on that 1.85%. So, not much to say, but I did commit to an update. I think it's important in a tough budget situation to update every 2 weeks.
Question.
Just a quick question. With that February Saturday budget meeting, right? When is the date on that?
It's February 1st, off the top of my head.
I have a quick question. I don't know if you'll know the answer to this, but I keep seeing in the news that a lot of other communities are facing much worse budget situations than we are, like Cohasset, Marblehead, Duxbury. I was just curious, like, what's going on? Do you know?
There or here?
Well, kind of like, is there something?
Sure.
Like I know, for example, in Scituate, we talked about at the Financial Forecast Committee how the way that the state has calculated new growth changed, and that really impacts us as a town that relies heavily on taxes of residents and real estate and things like that. And so I was just curious, like, if there's something else going on
Sure.
that you can think of that is causing all of these challenges.
Sure. I think a lot of other towns are looking at a lot of volatility in terms of enrollment. When I speak to other colleagues in other towns, they have, whether it's the immigrant population and they have some of those hotels that are, even though they're getting reimbursed by the state, those are causing some volatility in the budget. I think special education costs in a lot of towns, especially where they contract everything out and they don't have busing like we do. We do a combination of special education vans and we do have to contract out some. In some towns where they have to go all in with contracted services, that can get very expensive. Regular ed transportation has also gotten very expensive. We only contract out one of our regular ed buses to First Group, but that's the most expensive way to go. It's a lot more cost effective to have our own. So, those are some things that Scituate's had that has helped buffer us against some of those changes.
Yeah.
It's hard to speculate because every town does their finances differently.
Mm-hmm.
I think here, we've just had such an open and honest communication with town hall throughout that there really aren't any surprises. And I think in other communities, that's not always the case. And so, these things come up and they're surprises and you're dealing with those crises. I think here we've had such open and honest communication that we can keep those things moving,
I was also thinking that the ESSER funding and the fact that we use that for capital as opposed to people, that was also a decision that I think has been really helpful to us and has helped minimize some of the effects of that money going away.
No question.
Yeah, it's interesting how that's still
Still
rippling
Still
into,
rippling,
yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Unfortunately, many districts, again, you deal with the situation you're in front of at the time. And in 2021, 2022, there was a lot of need for additional counseling staff in some places that didn't have what we already had.
Mm-hmm.
We already have reading specialists. We already have math specialists. We already have some of these things. And so a lot of other towns now are scrambling to put those things in place as they deal with either curriculum challenges or, we talked about PEAR and what those kids are dealing with and those results, which are fantastic to hear. Other towns are trying to catch up on some of that. We already had it in place. So that buffered us against some of the stuff that's happening.
Thank you.
Question. Great, thank you so much. All right, we have Celebrate Student Learning, Mr. Ranieri.
Right. Brought a team.
And team.
This is going to be my longest presentation. I'm totally kidding. I'm challenged to make it as efficient as possible. All right. Brian, you're sharing? Yes. Wait, could you turn that microphone on? Just pull it up there.
Just an arrow to advance the slides.
Yes. Testing. Can you hear me?
Green, the light, green light on it?
Oh, better? Now it's green.
That's green.
It's green.
We can,
All right.
we can, and I
It's
think
just for
so.
in here.
Yeah, I do too, because I believe Seth
He said that a few weeks ago.
Mr. Ranieri, you sound great. I can hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate it. All right. So we just wanted to share of October the 23rd, the first of hopefully a long history of college career and community days. I want to give a little background of where it came from, what it was all about, what we did. So where did CCC Day come from? Where did College Career Community Day come from, and why? So we wanted to build off some things that were currently in place that we deem to be pretty successful, such as our annual successful Credit for Life event, which all the juniors participate in. Thank you to our couple of school committee members that have participated in that. Yeah. In addition, we have senior student ambassadors that help with that event as well. So that was an event that, even though it was for one class, there was a lot of the school day was impacted. I don't want to say interrupted, it was impacted because of it. It built off and expand current efforts with our Innovation and Career Pathways, DESI grant efforts. So expand on that in a moment with our 9th graders and the implementation of MyCap, and then to also expand upon just overarching College Career and Community Day opportunities school-wide. This is an important effort with Mr. Loranger and the high school administration as well to expand those efforts. With respect to 9th graders, so we're going to try to talk about each grade very briefly. In the morning, 9th graders began implementing the MyCap program, which is a DESI program, which stands for My Career and Academic Plan. It basically engages students it is a 6 through 12 experience that students engage with each year. It's spearheaded by our counseling staff, where students explore their strengths, their interests through grade level activities. Students gain self-awareness and are supported through grade level goal setting. And they help develop a vision for their future to be more post-informed when they get to the post-secondary planning. In the afternoon, 9th graders engaged in community service options. They beautified the campus for homecoming. They had cards for veterans, Children's Hospital, and seniors that'll be dropped off this week before winter break. There was also a series of team building activities with their crews that was outside. We had several staff members help and support that as well. Overall, the scores were, my closing slide is some feedback and scores of the day. Received very strong scores from students. Our sophomores, do you mind if I hand off here to my awesome colleague, Ms. Kirk? Ms. Kirk, so a little bit about, I can hit rewind a second because I turned to my left, and I remembered it in the spring, where did this even come from? I remember Ms. Kirk calling me to the office. She said, Greg, what do you think about this idea of a bigger day where all the students can experience an example of Credit for Life, but it really expand the scope of it. And I immediately heard it. I'm like, I like what you're thinking. And so we went into the lab a little bit and started to innovate what the days would look like, had a presentation to faculty at the end of the school year. And one of the pieces that we had in mind was for sophomores to take campus tours. Ms. Kirk did a ton of effort putting those tours together. So you could kind of talk about the range and spectrum of those.
Thank you. I'm one of the assistant principals at the high school. So we chose schools that were within a 40-minute distance and tried to select some colleges and career opportunities that you'll notice the sheet metal workers. Mark Loranger had a great contact there to be able to get some different experiences. A lot of our sophomores have never been on a college campus. And so to understand when we say you're working towards college, you're working towards scholarships, well, what does that mean? And so we were able to get some college tours, the students selected. Definitely was an important part of the day in terms of how that fits into their future.
Our juniors, which has been a mainstay for our juniors, is the Credit for Life Fair. I'm going to let one of my friends, Jake, talk about that in a few minutes. Jake is a senior. Jake participated in Credit for Life last year. He's now a senior that was a Credit for Life a senior ambassador, so that he came and helped support the event. So I'm going to let you talk about that in a little bit. But Ms. Brandolini and Mr. Gates have been there through the years, and awesome central office has been spinning the reality wheel to make sure our students build their financial literacy skills. And without further ado, I want to take the opportunity for a few of our awesome seniors to introduce themselves. So if you guys could talk about your names, what you did that day, what your volunteer opportunity was, and how it was a good use of your time.
Hi, my name is Tyler Bernabel, and I volunteer at the Jenkins Elementary School, and I help with the teachers and stuff. And I think it was actually beneficial because the kids love it. They love seeing new faces, and every time they saw seniors pass the hall, they get so excited. And also how the teachers found the help very beneficial. Once before I left, the teacher was like, "Thank you so much," because who I was working with, I forgot her name, but she was teaching second graders and third graders in one classroom. so she found the help very helpful. And I also think it was beneficial for the kids who are like majoring in education, and I think like it'll help them like to see what they're actually working towards. Thank you.
Whatever you think.
So my name is Leona Breitenstein, and I'm one of the co-editors-in-chief of the school newspaper, The Situation, and we wanted to do an event at the Senior Center in Scituate where we had our seniors in advanced journalism interview various seniors who are from Scituate, obviously, and we had them do the interviews, and they wrote stories, and we've been publishing them. And I feel like it was very beneficial for like the seniors to get to like hear about other people and like their lives and how like what impact they've left in building that connection.
Hello, my name is Jake Linnell. As Mr. Neary said, I was one of the senior ambassadors for the Credit for Life Fair. So overall, like Credit for Life, as many of you know, it's like you're given like a job and you kind of like role play through that job. So when I was a junior, I was a lawyer, and so pretty much I had to like figure out like how do I deal with my debt, like college debt, and kind of like navigate that as I'm like going through life and like buying like a gym membership, like a grocery, like buying groceries monthly. And this experience was just like great for me as a junior personally, like overall just as a junior. It kind of like helped me guide my way down like my college journey and like what I want to do with the future of my life. And so with that, when Mr. Neary selected me to be one of the senior ambassadors, I was excited because then I got to kind of share my experience with the juniors and like kind of help them navigate their own paths. So pretty much what I did, I was like assigned to help out with like a booth. So I was at the furniture booth and there was like 3 options. So pretty much a student, they would come up to me, I would like look at their sheet, I would say, look at what job they had, look at their credit score, look at how much debt they're in, their how much money they make a year, and I would say which option is most beneficial for them, what they should do, which the financially beneficial for them. And I thought it was just overall a great experience for me, and it was great to give my experience and help out the juniors overall. So thank you.
And then in the afternoon.
Oh, yes. Sorry. And then in the afternoon, we had a great speaker, Caleb Joseph. So I've like experienced a lot of speakers in my life, like many speakers, not only here at Scituate, but like overall, just different places at like Malta UN or, you know. And I think no one like has captured a room more and like had their attention on them more than Caleb did. I think just like the fact that he's like so young and that he's so like personable for students, for us to connect with him, and like his message is so relatable. I think it was overall very successful. He was he was an athlete, and I feel like that not only were athletes connecting to him, but just everyone in the like high school community overall. Like even if you don't play a sport, you could find a way to connect to his message, like pressure and just like how the amount of pressure that's put on you as like a high schooler is just insane. And his message was just so beneficial for. I noticed that it wasn't even students that were relating to his message, but teachers also. And I thought that was really impactful for the Scituate community and high school community overall.
So to say that there might have been a little bit of nerves planning a full school events like this, we went big. This was a big thing. We didn't just add a grade or add the afternoon to the juniors. It was all 4 grades. And cheers to Mr. Loranger and Ms. Kirk for wanting to take that risk. And overall, it went pretty well. I would say it went really well. The scores, we got some data, some feedback from scores, and faculty seemed to really appreciate it. Students seemed to really appreciate it. Overall, on Likert scales, there were 3s and 4s. Caleb's was the highest rated across the board, not surprisingly. There was some great qualitative feedback too that we got from teachers and students, and we've got a lot of notes to future of things that we want to work on to make sure it's even better. That's under 10 minutes or less. The time is pause for questions.
Sure. Thank you so much, all of you. That was really great information, and yeah, I love it. Anyone have a question?
I just had one question.
Yeah.
This all happened on one day?
One day.
Wow.
So there were 900 people to move.
Yeah,
one day.
I know. My daughter went to the colleges, and I was like, "You're doing what?" What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might be a
But that's
helpful piece
amazing.
as you build, is like, because we all 3 of us have sophomores, and
Yeah.
we knew like information. They're God love the sophomores. They're like, you're right, exactly what you said. They sort of just don't really, they've never been to a college campus. They're just right at that line. And so as much information and prep work you can do for them that it's important and what they should be looking out for, I think will be beneficial for them.
Yes.
But yeah, I just love that you incorporated all 4 grades. It's such a great idea.
Yeah, our anticipation as we continue to build efforts through the MyCap process and the advisory process, that sophomore experience will even, those things you're like, I'm not sure, those little
Right.
questions, hopefully we can continue to make sure there's just optimal understanding and communication.
Yeah, and you even you really are working with the whole SPS community, because my 4th grader, I think it was my 4th or my 3rd grader, one of the 2 came home and said there were seniors, there were high school kids in the building, and that just was a game changer for the day. So, it was literally, every single really hit everyone.
And Mr. Gates, one of the impetus for thinking this through was you had mentioned at a Coffee for Caregivers last year, they wish that we had involved younger students in the college and career, like when do we start that process? And that was one of the pushes that got us started on planning this day.
There you go.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Great. Look at you, starting new events. That's great. The credit for life they have really well. Oh, yeah. I know.
This is just like a story about the situation.
Oh, awesome.
Love the
I just want to see
situation.
that. That's great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Love the situation. This should go everywhere.
Go to the Boston Globe.
Yes.
Thank you.
What is the best publication we have?
Seriously.
We don't get it.
It's true. We don't. Why don't we?
I mean, totally, yeah. It's on everything.
How do we?
So good.
Does it
Situation
get
on that.
pushed out? Does it
No.
get pushed out to?
Community wide?
No, to us.
No,
Oh, situation?
Yeah.
Take a look.
Yeah, it's around.
it should
But
be
do
sent.
they
Go on their
do they
website.
push something just when it gets published?
Yeah. I think the situation, don't they publish on state?
Yes, if you said a situation.
Yeah,
But it doesn't get
students
sent.
know about it internally.
Yeah, I've been flipped it before.
But it should be.
You mean like, you
To
don't know?
everyone.
You could be on a list
Oh,
search for it, yeah, I agree.
There's a new.
Hi.
They go into the mail.
Oh, really? That's very neat. Well, Peter is good at elevating new
Yeah, I guess
new
so.
ideas, so.
Apparently.
They would like the situation distributed to the entire town.
It's online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want
I need
more.
it to come
Good
to
morning.
Does it go out on the app, like the new?
There's an app? Oh, yeah.
No,
our app.
In our app.
Right.
What do you mean, is there an app?
No, sorry, I thought you guessed
That's
the
telling.
situation.
No, like new,
And it, yeah,
This will solve a lot of our issues.
it will.
talk to the
Just
new.
use, yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah.
Like it can be
I
found
think they've
at.
always just kept it in-house at the high school and stuff. But I can work with these small matches.
I think
They do great,
Yeah, they do.
great job.
Yeah. Reach more people. Yeah. All right, Principal Beatty.
Okay, good evening and thanks for having me tonight. I'm here to provide an update on the Gates Middle School School Improvement Plan. Going back to last year and really learning about school improvement plans, why do we have them? And why is it important to come and provide updates? It's very important because we have done so much work over the past year to enhance teaching and learning and to improve student growth and achievement. And so really 3 areas we're very proud to talk about that we focused on last year was the idea of MTSS, which is multi-tiered systems of support. We focused a lot last year on our ELA literacy and our Title I math programs, and we also focused on family and community engagement. And so those areas we have lots to kind of take pride in action steps that we have completed. And it's our job this year to look at the performance data of our students and to continue on in these areas so that we can just continue to get better and better and better. Every year, we are so blessed at Gates to have the best school council there is. Every year, the people that come out bring different perspectives, different experiences. We have a lot of people who are invested in education, and we're just so blessed to have them because this new school council looks at the plan from last year and says, what do we need to tweak based on the data we have for this year? And so you'll see in this presentation tonight some of our big ideas for work this year as we continue and end this particular plan. Our big areas for growth, I came as part of the MCAS report in September. We still have growth, we still have areas to improve in terms of achievement and growth in both math and ELA. So a lot of the action steps that we're going to be talking about link directly to achievement and growth in those two areas. This year, in year 2 of our plan, we are also focusing on student support structures and scheduling because we believe that if we have good structures in place and good schedules, all students will continue to learn and grow. And then continuing on with family and community engagement, this is a big pillar of the district strategic plan, like all of these particular bullet points, and the links directly to areas we want to improve in those areas. So in terms of next steps for this year, we are going to be utilizing diagnostic assessments at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year to kind of measure progress in math for all students. And 2 years ago, we took an assessment and we said, what can we do with it? At the secondary level, we don't have as many kind of progress monitoring tools, but now that we have a new curriculum, we have different things that we are able to say, we don't need to wait until next year for MCAS data. We should be doing this more regularly throughout the year and matching supports with that. So we are going to be assessing all students with that. We last year piloted some high quality instructional materials. This year they are implemented in all math classes 6 through 8. And as teachers are getting used to it and students are getting used to the new curriculum, we are hopeful that we're going to see greater results linking to both student achievement and growth scores. We have used data to more strategically place students in like cohorts so that students can move at a pace that works for them. And so our students are grouped more appropriately this year with the ability to move around and be fluid as kind of they're growing. And finally, for this one, we have implemented different supports in math, both push in and pull out, to help kind of not only give students what they need in the general classroom setting, but for those that need additional support. We have kind of piloted this year a pull-out class to kind of build some of those foundational skills that some of our students, the data is indicating they need additional support in. They're still being exposed to grade level curriculum, which is absolutely critical, but we have found time during the day to provide students with foundational support as well. Second piece is we are in our second year of the Systematic Student Support Academy that's offered through the Rennie Center for Educational Research in Boston College. This, it's about, I think, 7 or 8 of us at the middle school who are going through this training. It has personally been like one of the best professional development series that I've ever been a part of. They provide us with coaches, and ultimately what our partnership provides us with is by the end of our 3-year partnership, we will have kind of transformed how we do student support in the middle school setting. And so last year, we spent a lot of time kind of educating our team on what data is good data to look at when we're talking about students, what systems need to be in place to enhance the understanding of what it means to support the whole child. And we designed different tools that we tested with certain groups of teachers and students. This year, we have a process in place for all students and all staff. We meet every other week with each team of teachers who support about 100 students. The goal is by the end of this year to have designed an individual student plan for 100% of our learners at Gates. To date, we've developed, I want to say like about 120. So it might be an ambitious goal, but it's the idea that if we can support students academically, social, emotionally, health and well-being, personally, we will be able to better support a whole child and not prioritize different areas over others. And then the last one is deals with scheduling, and when we mention scheduling, sometimes it's a controversial thing in education because time is precious and every minute counts. And as we are kind of learning more about supporting kids, we really need to look at the structures that we have in place to ensure that every single student has opportunities for acceleration, opportunities for remediation, and we are in the process right now of doing a book study with our instructional leadership team, as well as our department chairs and our central office team, that really is helping us to get at kind of some things that we can all agree on before we start talking about schedules. Because if we all understand that time is precious and that all students deserve a high quality education and all students deserve to be supported and challenged, then we need to kind of create a structure that actually mirrors kind of our belief in that. So we are looking, in addition to the book study, we are visiting different schools, both locally and somewhat, in the area, to see how they are providing time to give students support. And so our goal is to have a master schedule for next year where every single student, regardless of anything, is provided with time during the day to get support. All of that links to the strategic plan and the teaching, learning, and leading. We have a lot of sub goals within each one of these goals, but this is the big idea that our school council and our instructional leadership team has kind of prioritized for this year.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Maria. I was just curious with the beginning and middle and end of year assessments for math, is that something that is part of the curriculum or is that an external measure that's separate from the curriculum?
That is an external measure. It does assess all of the grade level standards. So you should at the beginning of the year or the middle of the year, you should be doing very well in the stuff that was taught in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But it is a separate kind of tool, not necessarily part of the SAVAS curriculum.
Okay. And this is the first year of that?
Yes.
So these are happening now?
The middle of the year?
Those assessments are
Yes.
happening?
Yes.
So I appreciated the description and sort of what you're doing with your teams inside the building. How does that look from you have a lot of middle school parents sitting at this table, so good news, bad news. Just curious, so what does that look like as a parent or caregiver with
Sure.
those things?
That's a really good question. And I think what we've done in the past is, we've kept this data and used it internally. And I think what we have learned through our elementary counterparts who have, done a nice job of hosting, parent nights to kind of interpret what the data is saying and then what it means and what it doesn't mean. I think you're going to start to see that happening. I think it's dangerous to send home just reports to people who might, not be able to interpret them as accurately as maybe an educator could. And so we do need to design kind of opportunities for the school to showcase the data and to help parents kind of interpret the report, because I think sometimes if someone sees that their child is not at grade level in a certain standard, they immediately panic. And I think sometimes an educator can say, it makes sense because that's in Unit 5 and that happens in April. So don't, rush out and worry. So I think we are going to start to have those. I know at the elementary school they have had those for a couple of years now, and now that we have kind of a universal assessment, we're able to, do that. So stay tuned.
Yeah, I feel like that piece is really important because I think the other thing to keep in mind, I'm sure you know this, is we also have access to Aspen and the app. And so while we're seeing a variety of things happening in that graph that we all know, I think we don't, I don't think we have enough information as parents. And so we're either coming down or celebrating our kid or trying to figure out what the answer is. And so, just working together to figure out how to deliver that information so parents and caregivers can ask better questions
and not just why is this happening, right? So just something to think about.
And I think sometimes the information that parents and caregivers have access to might not tell an accurate story, or might not, your child might have an A in math, and that's wonderful. What does that mean?
Right.
So I feel like the more we can partner with parents and caregivers, and I think that is, one of our action steps in terms of those, for that particular one, the diagnostic assessment. Not just, we will mention it at one of our coffee with caregivers that we always do.
Yeah.
But we are missing an opportunity if we are not kind of, now that we have something, sharing it with everyone and using it wisely.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of joked with our committee, but I think, at least for me, for me personally, I think the other thing that I'm noticing talking to other parents in the town is that when we had such a setup at the elementary schools, it's also a transition for parents and caregivers, right? So it's not just figuring out what the right balance is with independence and hovering. It's also like we were used to meeting with teachers and going over these different assessments. So, we're also transitioning as our kids are moving to
Yes.
new environment.
And then just the other portion of the strategic plan, the communication and community partnerships, we take pride and continue to grow in having opportunities for parents, caregivers in the community to be a part of their students' learning by coming to as many showcases of learning that we possibly can have. I know there are formal ones and informal ones, but we challenge every teacher to find opportunities for parents, caregivers, and the community to come in and see what's going on in our building. We also try very hard to collect as much information and suggestions and ideas from parents and caregivers. The survey we gave out at the beginning of the year about, who are you sending to us, has been, invaluable, and we use that at every single one of our MTSS meetings. We say, well, from the parent perspective, what are the strengths, what are the challenges, what are the interests, what are the passions? And I think we had close to 525 responses, and we have 630 kids. So if a parent or caregiver didn't fill it out, and we are discussing their child, we call them and ask them the questions, because when we're all working together, that's, where the magic happens. So again, different action steps underneath these kind of bigger bubbles, but those are kind of the big areas that we are working on as a school and a school council. So any questions at this time?
Sounds good.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Peter.
Principal Arranger is up next.
So before I start, last year when I came in here with 6 goals, and I'm nuts to have 6 goals. So now that I'm in my second year as principal, I look at 6 goals and I go, wow, that's great. But it's going well. But I was a young principal and started out and thought, I'm going to do this, and this. And the administrative team said, yeah, we can work on this, and this. But so 6 is a lot. So I'm going to review and go over 6 updates on how we are with our goals. Before I even start, I want to thank Mrs. Kirk and Mr. Louette, our department chairs, our guidance counselors, our teachers for all that they do and all the support that they give one another. And we work really well as a team. And it's really important to know and point them out that, without their hard work, nothing improves in our high school. So they go beyond the call of duty. So I want to thank them. Our first goal is our attendance goal, which, we came into the school year last year and saw attendance was an issue, not only in our high school, but of course across the state. And our data that we just pulled up, Steve ran our data, and we've improved attendance-wise, a pretty good start. So right now, we're about 9 students per day, absent-wise, better off. So there's 9 less kids absent per day and 10 less kids tardy per day. So that's a good start. And we're noticing it. We're looking at our data and going through meetings with our students. We're noticing that our list is smaller than it was last year at this time. There's less students on it with high absences. So that's what made me pull the data and take a look. And so that's good. Some of the stuff, the major change we made this year was we asked guidance to meet with any student with 5 or more absences and then contact home. That's been a big change, I think, because then guidance has a chance to meet with the students with high absences and then has an opportunity to talk with the parents at home. And we've noticed that some of those students, after a conversation and a phone call home, has improved. In fact, this afternoon, I watched Mrs. Kirk meeting with a student on tardies, and the student walked in, knew right away, I know, Mrs. Kirk, I have 5 tardies, and that's it, because I don't want a detention, but funny, they right away knew how many they had, and so it's, the mentality of it's improved. Our next slide, goal number 2 was to try to change, or not change, but try to enhance what we do in WinBlock and use it a little more as a support. And this has been a struggle. It's definitely been a struggle. We're using MyFlex Learning to try to track attendance and find out where kids are. And it's a struggle to find out where they are each block and making sure students that aren't doing well academically are in their support classes and so on and so forth. So is this goal going really well? It's going okay, I'd say. We still have a lot of work to do with it. One thing we're doing is utilizing some National Honor Society tutors, and they're going to work during WinBlock with some of our students that are struggling academically. So I met with some teachers and some staff members and said, hey, these 2 kids are failing 2 classes. Let's get them in math on Monday, and let's get them in English on Tuesday, and so on and so forth, to work with their teachers. And then we're also going to other schools and looking at other WinBlock formats to try to improve our school. Our third goal is our increase opportunities for students and to challenge them academically through rigorous courses. And that might mean, I met with my school council today, that might mean a student that's taking a CP class who challenges themselves by taking an honors class. It doesn't mean that the rigorous classes have to be the AP classes. Whatever challenges that particular student is what's important. So our AP courses offerings have gone up. We're over 350 right now. Students are enrolled in 1 or more. That's up almost 50, a little over 50 compared to last year. And right now we have 719 students signed up to take the exam, take the AP exam. That number's grown tremendously too. And we're going to do it again. We did last year. We did an AP celebration breakfast. We brought in all the AP students and their families, and we had a light con in the breakfast and gave them T-shirts because we're T-shirt town. I have so many T-shirts going around. It's going to stop, Mr. Burkett, I promise. We got to cut out the T-shirts, but so all my kids have Scituate T-shirts now. They're supporting the school, which is good. And so all seriously, so we try to give them a little something just to, hey, congratulations on challenging yourself. And the AP breakfast went really well. So we're going to do that again this year. Celebrate school success, celebrate student success. Goal 4, we're really proud of. This came out, Mr. Ranieri had shared this with me, and I was really excited to see this. So what we did was they did the peer testing to find out where our students are and how they're feeling in our building. Are they feeling connected to the building? Are they feeling safe? And we have help if I move the slide. I saw you looking up at it like, that doesn't look like me. So in grade 9, 5% of the students felt no connection to the high school, which is down a lot. 4% in grade 10, 5% in grade 11, and 4% in grade 12, which is awesome. Because I remember talking about this when I first got hired. If students want to be in the building and they're happy to be there and they feel safe and they're excited about Scituate High School, they're going to learn more, they're going to come to school more often, everything gets better. So we're really excited about that. Mrs. Kirk is taking the ninth graders, Mr. Lett, Mrs. Kirk have taken the 5%. There's 8 students, and we have them now with a mentor. And now, so they have a connection, because our goal is to have 100% of our students walking into Scituate High School, wanting to be there, wanting to learn, wanting to be successful. So every one of these students on this, we're gonna assign a mentor to, and we're gonna work with that student so that we have 100%. So we'd love to pay that to come back at 100% next year. And they're building, they're gonna have some kind of, Mrs. Kirk's gonna do some kind of freshman mentor, some kind of ice-breaking activity where they get to know each other, and then we're gonna go from there. Maybe line them up with clubs or whatever type of activity that we could do to try to improve them. Some of the school culture stuff, sales a month, Wall of Fame, class cup stuff is really improved kids being excited.
So this is just 9 through 12, not 6 through 12?
I didn't put the 6 through 12 on there,
Okay.
yeah.
So this
There
is
is,
just
there is
this
data
one.
with 6 through 12, yeah, but I just cut and paste our data on here.
Can I ask another question about this? I was just curious if Pear offers like data from its entire data set, like can just to help us situate, like I agree with you 100% is obviously the goal. It's great to have these numbers be super low. I'm just curious, like what is there a typical? Does Pear do that?
Do what?
Do they
Compare against other
tell you
schools.
like a reference point for like what is
Like
usually
5%.
seen
It could be, it's
Is
not.
that
in high
Across,
schools? I'm just
right,
curious, like I'd like to know, is it normally like 10% of kids who are filling out? Do you know, Mr. Ranieri?
Mark, you wanna?
Yeah. Come on up, 2 minutes.
Just trying to understand like
This one's gonna be a
Yeah,
little longer
reference
than my
points.
last presentation, I appreciate it.
You just wanted more time.
He loves it.
I mean, I heard he was gonna talk about peer, and I said, I'd sneak in. So in general, a typical response is a bell curve, right? So you'd expect to see 66.6% in the norm. And so anytime I see above or below 16 or so percent on either extreme, it gets my attention.
I see.
So
Okay.
when I see that there's only 4%, when one might say the normal curve would be about 16, those things catch your attention. And then the great pieces about Pear, they now have a multi-year dashboard, so we don't have to go back to previous
Yeah, I
years.
was wondering.
So we can actually see historical trends. Just quickly, like so at the high school level, this is 9 through 12. It's about a 6% increase in students with their, it's denoted as a strength, which is significant. And where students it's denoted as a deficit, a relative challenge is about down 4% from last year. So
That's really helpful.
it is. It's exciting to see. So
Yeah.
there's things that I see. We try to sneak them out through. I think we pushed out through the app about a month or so ago. Some of a little bit more of the data with the 6 through 12 piece. But yeah.
you.
So when you see 37% of high school seniors,
Yeah.
that's
great.
double what you'd expect to see in a typical.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very helpful.
Good. Thank you, appreciate it. Goal 5, I promise you, there's only 6. Goal 5 is to increase our MCAS, so, to just try to add some supports to our building in areas that we're concerned about. So we have the student information tracking chart and working with the MTSS through the freshman crew. Biology support class, fundamentals of math, those are some of the courses that we're offering that we populated for support for some of our kids. This year, new during Wind Block, we met with Tracy, our school librarian, and she worked with some students during Wind Block on literacy support, which was really good, some reading and writing skills for some of our students. So that's, that the MTSS model is really a model that, it looks at the entire student, which is really good, and you can kind of support students in a different way depending upon where they are, and it's a really good system. And our student information tracking chart has a little bit of everything on it, so we kind of get to know the entire student. Our new freshman guidance counselor is doing a terrific job. Mrs. Lebo has met with every single freshman and has gone over all the freshmen, got to know the freshmen. She actually did like the first 45 days she was hired. So she's doing a great job making that connection with those kids. I always say freshman year is the most important school year of all time. If you come in your freshman year and you're not comfortable and you're not eager to be in school and you're not wanting to learn, then you're going to struggle and you're going to have a tough time graduating. And statistics show the students that don't do well freshman year are the dropout rates and the higher dropout rates. And I don't know what the percentages are, but it's pretty high. So freshman year is really, we dedicated one guidance counselor just to the freshman class this year. And she meets with the middle school guidance counselors to coordinate and work with students that we're concerned about. And our last is establishing the 5 pillars and we're gonna build these posters. It's gonna look a lot better than that. That's just there, it's all condensed in, but we're gonna develop posters. And we met as a staff a number of times last year and with the school council and came up with the 5 collaboration, critical thinker, problem solver, effective communicator, responsible, self-aware citizen, and lifelong learner. That piece is in the middle there that's all squeezed together that we feel is very important for students that walk out of high school and Scituate High School to have these 5 skills. And then our last slide is just a recap of, we're developing goals that allow students to feel safe through our school culture, some of our initiatives, focus on improving teaching and student learning through improving attendance, supporting our students through win block goals and some of the support classes we're putting into place, including the Scituate community to celebrate student success, like our AP celebrations, and spacing the parents there with us and celebrating all the hard work from their child. And our administration team is just excited about next steps. When we see stuff like what Greg showed with me with the peer data and things like that, it motivates you to get excited and increase the rigor and keep things rolling in a good direction. We got a lot of work to do, no doubt, but we're happy. We're happy where we're at, and we're going to keep working hard. And again, I can't thank Mrs. Kirk, Mrs. Louette, and everybody for all the support, all the hard work they do. It's incredible. They do a lot of hard work with kids. And that comment Mrs. Kirk made is true. When we noted that and we sat down, because it's true. Like some of the sophomores going on in Plymouth, we did it as freshmen. They went on their college visits as freshmen, but sophomore year is even better because they're a year older. And they may start to think about that. And being on a college campus, being able to see what it's like being on a college campus is really intense. And we added a trade in there. We might add another trade next year. We might go down to the electric union or the plumbing union and offer that to the students too. Anyone would be interested in that.
That's great.
Very awesome.
I love that.
Yeah.
Are you guys gonna do the sorry, Peter.
No, go ahead.
Are you guys gonna do the MyCap for sophomores too?
Yeah, we do MyCap's a freshman
Just
year.
the freshmen?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So the current sophomore.
I'll
Yes.
I'll jump in here.
In
In the spirit of sustainability, we are working to climb the ladder a grade each year. So it is a 6 through 12 program. We started with 9th graders this year, we'll be 9 and 10 next year, 9, 10, 11. So we want to make sure we build sustainable efforts. So it's being implemented through advisory with the support of our school counselors, and for an initial first year to get started with the 9th graders, we're going to build on successes. So it will go all the way follow them through 12th grade.
What was done at the middle school? 6th and 7th had something.
They have, and yes, they have. I don't.
Yeah.
That was the MyCap piece is spearheaded by our school counseling. I know
Okay.
just enough to be able
But
to advocate for it.
Thinking, because we were just saying 9 and then 10 and 11, but also it's happening.
Oh, it is happening. Yeah, Miss Mahoney.
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm worried about the
it's in the
10th
middle
graders because I worry about the 10th because they haven't gotten,
They
they're the
missed it.
most close to next step college or career decision making and they have not been included in the piloting. Not that I have a personal connection to any 10th grader. But I might.
Duly noted. I'll pass that to the team when we get back to school tomorrow.
Pull that out.
All right. I have a couple questions. Thanks, Mr. Lorenzi. First of all, I don't know what school that is. With
That's
the
my
green,
school.
with Mr.
It's the
Burkhead, with
door.
the
I mean,
green
that's the
siding.
door.
Where did they get that picture from?
That's an old picture.
Is that Duxbury?
Maybe Plymouth South.
Yeah, I don't
No,
know.
it's
about
the
that.
old Plymouth South.
Plymouth South, yeah.
That's not the door.
Concrete's not.
No, but
Looks better now.
It looks like an old picture.
so I guess one question, one comment. One is no, thank you for following up on the on some impetus for the college thing. But my follow up on that is, and I kind of keep it to my mind every year. I know I didn't mention this, but Scituate community is very generous at the end of every year, and they have senior scholarships, mostly senior scholarships. I think it's important for the young kids, freshmen, sophomores, to know that those are available so that they can work towards them, as opposed to, hey, you're a senior, here you go, here's a bunch of scholarships you can apply for. So if they know in advance, they can maybe take a path to be a potential recipient of that particular scholarship. I think that's important.
That's true.
And the other question just is, just to, I guess, clarify, is the tardiness and the absences look good, as you state, as a lower number of students, but I think we need to look at a percentage, correct? Because if we have fewer students at the high school as compared to last year, we're probably going to have fewer tardies and absences. So I don't know what the total enrollment was last year versus this year, and how the number of students, is it better or worse?
There's only about 20 less students, I think, this year or so. So the numbers would still be substantially better. Yeah, but
I just want to make sure that if we use this data going forward to compare, that the percent, I think that the percentage is the right way to do it, I think, or maybe both.
The other number we're always interested in, I think, is the number or percent of students with chronic absenteeism themselves. So this just kind of captures the total, number. But what about how many kids are hitting that mark, that 10% that we know in particular Desi cares about, but honestly, obviously, is a number we should all care about if people are missing that many days. And that's a number that I think we still would love to know, the chronic absenteeism.
And that's what, like, things like parents taking students on vacations and they miss 6 or 7 in a row, like that really counts against the.
Right. And it would be helpful to separate that out from kids that are in, because the more dangerous thing for a kid is to miss a day here, a day here, a day here.
Agreed.
And so,
agreed. And that's kind of what we look at, like, we sit down and see, we look at those kids that are missing Monday and then the following Tuesday and then the following Monday. Yeah, those are the kids we call in and because they're not consistently there. They're not sick with the flu and out 4 days with the flu or, they're missing a lot of period, days here and there. Those are the concerns.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Thank you.
I have a question about the wind block. So you said that you're struggling with the MyFlex, like keeping track of the kids. And you also mentioned that you identify kids who could use extra help for a certain couple of days for different subjects. Are they when you say to a student, I want you to go to this teacher for like extra help, is that required of them? And is that?
No, but if we ask them, they go. Like, we have great kids. I met with a student the other day that failing English. And this was 2 weeks ago. And I said, you need to be with the English teacher every wind block. So I walked down there during wind block, students there. Like, we've got great kids, and is it hard to manage and keep track of all the different? Yes. So you got to hope that they're motivated to do so, but this particular student is there, and so meeting with kids, a lot of kids, if you meet with them and just tell them what's important, you need to improve your education, you want to graduate, use the word graduation, and they really get like, I want to graduate, most of the kids do report.
Okay.
It's hard to track because we're missing kids. We know we're not on top of every single kid, so we're trying to find a system that's better where we don't know no kid is left behind that we can
Are they using like an app, like on their phone, like?
Yeah. But they sign up for English and then they end up somewhere else.
Even innocently, not even, I've heard of that. Oh, I was supposed to. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna go to English, but then I went and met with my club advisor instead. So, doesn't even have to be like I'm failing something. It could be, I'm struggling in this unit, but I didn't go. I went here instead because I needed to get this thing done. Like time management, I guess. For example. Okay. But I agree. They're all great kids.
They are great.
Yeah, they're working hard.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
All right, we have our policy subcommittee update. Miss Fenwick, Miss Linda.
So we would like to discuss the policy JEB, entrance age. This is something that comes up every year with families asking, hey, can you give me a little flexibility? My kid's born September 2nd or 3rd or 4th. And so we looked into a little bit of what other districts do. It's really a variety. There's a bunch of August 31st, September 1st, September 4th, 5th, 6th, December, October.
There's crazy. I thought it was just Massachusetts.
I did too.
Yeah, it's a wide range and it is district by district. Yeah. We felt like this was worthwhile for a number of reasons. One being that, it's really hard on families if you have a kid born September 3rd and they can't go, they're clearly ready to go, and then they have to hold another year of preschool, and you're paying for that, We did talk a bit about what would be the most fair, because you have to pick a day and there's always gonna be someone born the next day.
Yeah.
The next day after that.
Yeah.
But we thought September 8th might make sense because we reasoned that even if Labor Day is quite late, we would never start later than September 8th, meaning that this way the child would be 5 by the first day of school. So the way we have the policy now, if we start school on September 8th, you have kids that have turned 5 in September 2nd,
Yeah.
3rd, 4th,
Yeah.
5th, all before that, who are missing out on starting kindergarten on time, even though technically they are of age by the time
Right.
school starts.
Like, why do we have a date that is before
The start of
school?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So as we said, there's always going to be kids with September 9th and 10th birthdays, and that is a bummer for them. But I just, there has to be a date at some point, and so this felt like a more fair way of doing it.
Interesting.
Go ahead.
Can I ask why?
Yes.
Why we decided to look at this policy? Because as I was reasoning, when I opened this up, I thought it was going to be the reverse, where we have families who choose to not send their kids to kindergarten.
There are those.
We looked at that as well, actually. So we're still sort of trying to research that. So I think the goal is to narrow the age groups that are in any given grade, because the wider that gets, the more challenging it becomes for teachers, because developmentally, you then have a group of kids in front of you who is potentially, you've got kids that are turning the new age
like
in
7.
the fall, you've got kids. And so that is definitely something that I think would be wise to look at. We started to look at that a little bit, and I did find a couple of examples of districts that have written policies that address that. So I don't know that we can have a hard and fast policy that says like you must send your kid. First of all, kindergarten is not required. So it's first grade that's required. So there's that to consider. The way that a couple of districts have done it is Hingham, for example, says, this is a quote from their policy, recognizing that it is generally in the best interest of a student and their classmates to maintain classes within a reasonable chronological and developmental range, the HPS district expects parents and guardians to enroll their students in kindergarten for the first year they are eligible to attend. Parents with questions about their child's readiness should contact the principal of the school of which their child would attend. Norwell has something similar. They have students who have not attended kindergarten but who are age 6 before September 1st will be assigned to grade 1 unless, so they have like that, they're trying to kind of get at it that way. So that is something that we could consider adding. I just don't know that there's a way for us to be much stricter with a date, given that kindergarten is not technically required.
It's tricky because like that makes me think, like if somebody, like I wouldn't feel comfortable making a child attend first grade if they haven't done kindergarten, because I'll never forget Henry's kindergarten teacher saying, I'm teaching like first grade stuff. And they miss out on all that.
Yeah.
I mean, even without a date, tighter language, the language you just read to me sounds reasonable.
I would not be opposed to adding in something that says that, the expectation is to send to kindergarten in the first year that they're eligible to attend, unless you have a question about their readiness. Like there are legitimate questions about readiness sometimes.
On both
those
ends,
are
though.
case by case basis,
Right. That feels more balanced to me if we're,
So Hingham doesn't put a date, they don't put a date in.
then, well, you're still researching.
I'm still researching.
I was gonna ask.
So
if
I
you
don't
came
know.
across
Beyond
anyone
that, they
who puts
wouldn't
a
have a
date.
date.
What's
Like
that?
But they don't have a.
Like must be or
Just
First
as the
grade
first
or-
year in which they're eligible to attend.
Kindergarten.
yeah. Which is 6 by the 8th, so whatever.
Yeah. The other question I had, and my brain sort of, for some reason, can't comprehend this, but the second part of the policy, our current policy, A child who will be 6 years of age on or before September 1st is eligible to attend grade 1 on the first scheduled day of that year. I think, if I'm not wrong, that we would have to make that also the 8th, because if not, we would have kids who enrolled in kindergarten being born September 5th, say, and they would technically not be 6 on September 1st. So the dates have to mirror each other. We didn't catch that the first reading, the first time we discussed, so we do need to amend that. Right? Am I right about that?
Yeah.
Can you read it again? Sorry.
Because if they turn 5, September 7th, then they wouldn't turn 6 until September 7th.
Okay, yeah.
So we
that's,
can't say
and that's
September
referencing
1st.
for first grade,
First
because
grade.
kindergarten is
Yes.
not
Yes.
a Massachusetts.
So we have to have two pieces
Yes,
here.
okay.
A child who will be
Got it.
5 years of age on or before September 8th is
Okay.
eligible to attend kindergarten in September of that year.
Yeah.
And then separately, a child who will be 6 years of age on or before September 8th is eligible to attend grade 1 on the first scheduled day of that school year.
Which is technically the
Which
state.
would address parents who don't send their kid to kindergarten.
Right.
They choose not to.
Does anyone not do that?
It's not
Curious
compulsory.
what our,
I
I
know
know
it's still, even if no one chooses it, we still
still
have
to have it
policy.
so
They have to attend the year they turn 6.
Yeah.
To Massachusetts.
I think the only problem would be somebody coming from a district where the cutoff is
Or
Why would you have to
December.
have the second date?
I think you have to have the second date because not everyone technically has to attend kindergarten.
Right.
So you have to have a policy for kids who are coming in at that point.
But if they have to attend school the year they turn 6, it's the year, so it's not a function of the day. So if it's 2024 and I'm 5 when I start, I have to start because I'm
Turn
turning
6.
2024, I'm turning 6.
So we could take out the date altogether and
Yes,
say
that's
the
what
year
I'm,
that you turn
that's
6.
that's the way I read the Massachusetts policy.
like 6.
So even if
That
they don't,
would solve the problem, right?
I mean, that's what the Massachusetts policy said. It has to be the year they turn 6 is when they have to start school.
But I think this
Oh.
means which grade do they start?
I would assume it's first since
It would be
kindergarten is
because
not
if it's
mandatory.
after
No,
September
I know.
8th.
I think you have to,
8th.
I think we have to just say that.
Right, because if it's 2024, but it's after September 8th, they turn 6, or prior to, does that matter?
Wait, no, it kind of does, because if a child turns
Yeah.
8 in the
October.
spring of 2024, they would start kindergarten that year. They would have already started in the fall. So like,
Yes.
right, this is where my brain starts to break down, but I think this is right. Because I did think about that, Carrie. I think it's that if we have a policy that says if you turn 6 in 2024, you're not necessarily attending first grade.
Right.
Could be attending kindergarten. Because if you're born in the spring, it will be in the prior school year. If you're born in the fall, it would be in the following school year, right? This is, I know.
I don't really understand why that was ever changed. Why is it not, when it used to be January 1st to December 31st? I don't know. But
It's been like September 1st.
for almost.
When I was growing
When
up,
I was
it
a kid, it was-
December.
yeah, December
31st.
Yeah, it was December.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it goes with a school year now.
Although this policy apparently has been on the books since 1971.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
It says,
No
yeah.
way.
I grew up in Maryland, so.
That's amazing. This is our oldest one we've ever seen.
I know.
Wow.
Okay, so we definitely have to make I think we have to make the change in the
For
second
kindergarten,
bullet.
so too.
But why don't we all think about this and make sure
Yeah.
that we're right? And I can try to do a little more research.
Yeah.
So that's the first part. The second part is whether or not we wanted to add any additional language. And I can continue to look for other districts that might have something that lays the expectation that kids start in the year in which they are first eligible.
I think since first grade, like kindergarten isn't required, first grade, the expectation in the state law is that they start,
Maybe
you just
that's why
follow
they're
whatever the
broken
law
out.
is.
Because even if you turn 6 in the spring, it's that year is the next fall. It's not the kindergarten fall. So the kindergarten rule would apply to you, but then when you turn 6, in the spring. Like, I don't understand why you need the second date. But I'll think about it.
Yeah, I'll think about it too, because I feel like I've been around this multiple times and I keep getting confused.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out exactly what this is going to accomplish. You're basically, this policy, as we initially understand, is that going September 2nd, you have to wait a whole nother year to go to first grade. Again, my perspective is that there are families who are choosing to hold their students back with August or July birthdays. I'm more concerned about those folks.
And they
I did ask if we could get some information on, because I know that there are some kids held back even with earlier, like April, May, June. And so I was saying it would be helpful to get some data to understand how many kids this is, because again, the point of the policy is really to narrow and say, like, we need to keep this as narrow as possible, because academically for teachers, it just makes it harder when you've got kids that are super little and super old, but they're all in the same bunch. Just it makes it harder the whole way.
Honestly, I would argue it social emotionally makes it more difficult for the students as well, depending on the student and the age gap. Because
I think there's a narrative
that's just
it's
true.
Advantageous to the child to hold them back.
Sure.
But I don't know that that narrative is true.
I mean compared to their I mean socially, like, you know.
But like, and the flip side is that there are kids that are ready for school in September, like, you know, even though their birthday is too late. But, so this fixes that problem.
I think
There's a lot of kids.
this is a small
we all
fix, but it just means that
It's
you're
the
not going to
cutoff.
turn 5, and because of the calendar, school starts September 6th, and you still can't go, even though you're 5.
If they're 5 by the start of school, then they should go. If the parent feels like they're, you know, feels they're ready.
I don't know that we're gonna, as much as we can commiserate over this, I don't know that we're gonna solve whatever problem we think it is, because at the end of the day, the principal can also override whatever we put.
Can they?
That's what the Massachusetts law says.
Well, they all
That I'm just saying, like, if we believe that it depends on the kid, the principal does have, it said, that's what I just read in the statute.
Fair to though, right?
So
shouldn't
I
the
don't know that we're
principals
gonna, we could try to box in a rule, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to, just because it's human beings we're talking about.
I mean, the beginning of the policy says, in an attempt to permit children to enter kindergarten or first grade at the most appropriate time for them individually. And I think, yes, that is true, but also we have to keep our eye on the bigger picture of everybody, you know, so there's like, it's like that same tension we always face, the individual and the collective, like, if everyone did everything individually how they were suited, then we really, you know, that's not what we are aiming to do in a public system. And so I wonder if maybe there's an opportunity to adjust some of that language, just to say, like, it is our belief and preference that children enter at the first moment they're eligible, just to try to put some parameters.
Yeah.
And this just fixes the random date of September.
Yeah.
Like,
September
we're
1st is
never in
random.
school.
It's
So
all
why
over the
would we
place
have a
across the
date,
state.
you know?
I don't disagree with you. I'm just saying, like, I actually think that, like, we change the date so it coincides better with when we start school. But what I'm also hearing is, like, maybe it's conversations with leaders and parents about what the reality is for these decisions, right? Like, it sounds like information is missing, and the narrative is one when actually the narrative might be something else. And so, you know, just coaching principals and folks and caregivers and parents. That's all I'm saying.
We should also maybe look at the state law again, because there's nothing in our policy that talks about exceptions.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just looking at it. So it's a school committees can establish their own minimum age for school attendance as long as it's not older. Obviously, it doesn't. And then it said principal may also override the initial entry point into school and place an exceptionally mature student in a grade. So, like,
What was that last line? Place what?
it says place an exceptionally mature student in a grade. I'm just saying there's a lot of factors at play here, right? When we're talking about kids and parents and caregivers. So but I like the idea of having it better align with our start of school, which is what I think you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So
Step one.
Step one.
I know, that's what I'm saying. It makes sense.
Curious if superintendent.
I need to like percolate on it a little bit.
He's like, no,
He's like,
don't drag me in.
He's like, don't talk to me.
Drag me in. All right,
It's
so
not
for
working.
administrator, principals, we have a, we have a knowledge base here. All of you do.
It's been a while
Experiences.
since my kids went to elementary, but I wanted to get them out of the house as early as possible.
Same.
I would have
Same.
sent them when they were
August
two.
31st.
Keep anybody
Goodbye.
back.
It took me 24 years to get them out of the house again, so different topic, but yeah, I think I like the policy, but I like the adjustment to the policy because about this time of year we get inquiries from families. They're planning and they're getting ready, and we need to know numbers. So I think that's why.
Yeah.
Mr. Gates' question was why now? So it's probably good to get ahead of this now and address that. But I also know there are decisions families make on the other side. Probably that's more common because this one kind of, well, I know it's less practical experience is less common when someone wants their child to go to school earlier as opposed to later because of the potential advantages, whether it be academic, social, emotional, or athletic. There are some people thinking about that already for a year advantage. But I also think we need to look at state law and also look at the practical implications of this. I don't think it's been a problem. But again, I haven't spoken to all the parents, but I do agree with Scituate that the teachers would, I think, say, and as an educator, I would say the same thing: is we want to make sure that we don't have such a wide disparity that we're coming in with kids that are almost a year older. At that young age, it creates some issues, and I think Brandon brought that up as well. So I think you're on the right track, and I just think it takes a little more. And we can look into it on our end, talk to some teachers and stuff, and see how they feel about it. But I think the closer we, stay by law, but the closer we can keep those age limits coming in together, I think that's beneficial for all kids. I don't feel anything to add.
All right. Do you have anything else to add?
No, just are you asking us to collect from our principals a little bit more information on potential impacts?
I think it would be nice also to have just some numbers to understand how many kids are we talking about. I think anecdotally sometimes it feels like a lot, but maybe it's not actually a lot. I think that would just be a good thing to know. So that would be helpful. And then in terms of some next steps for us, I wrote down that we will investigate what we need to do about that line about first grade, just to make sure we are doing the right thing. We will hopefully come across some data so we can understand how many kids this is that we're talking about, so we can just understand that. We'll look at the opening lines of the policy, which talks about wanting to preference the individual, and think about maybe we want to balance that language a bit and say, it's really about both things, Consider whether to add principal exemption language. And then I'll keep looking at other districts. It's kind of hard because I just kind of randomly think to myself, what's another district I might look at? So I looked at the ones kind of surrounding us geographically.
Yeah.
But if anyone hears of other districts that I can ask on the mass list maybe.
I was gonna say,
I think
you go on the Mass website and look up other towns' policies for that.
Yes, but I was just sort of randomly looking at
that
it.
might be a good.
That's what I've been doing.
The Mass review.
Yeah,
Then I'll do the listserv.
those are always some fun
Yeah.
chains to start.
But it is interesting that it used to be December 31st.
Yeah.
And then at some
Like
point it changed.
1984.
No,
So that
No,
I was
actually,
looking
really?
at when separate.
I don't know when it changed. I don't know.
Yeah, but that, you're not, you're.
That reference might be actually
Yeah,
in the
okay.
state.
That helps, I can address that question.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
So,
Tom can answer that.
I'm speculating a bit, but I know just from history, the reason why those changes were made was to avoid bubbles in grade levels. Remember in the 70s, there was an absolute population boom.
Yeah,
And so, people make decisions based on the information they have at the moment, right?
sure.
And so at that time, there was a huge population boom. High schools were doing double session. You heard of all that in the 70s. And so by bringing it back, somehow that made the classes a little bit more balanced and a little bit more even at that time.
Sure.
So people make the decisions you make. So I think similarly to echo what Bill said, if September 8th works for Scituate because of what we're talking about as the new date or the beginning of the school year, I don't think you're opening up a huge can of worms. I mean, you're talking 4 or 5 more kids on there. But my own 2 cents.
That makes sense.
We did talk about October 1st briefly, just because that's the day that DESE counts. kind of does their snapshot of who's in, who's where. But ultimately that felt a little more random, honestly. Whereas at least this has the rationale of being tied to the start of school, which feels the least random of any day. We could have said September 15th, but that still is a random day that we picked out of thin air. So this felt less arbitrary. Okay. You will go back and work on some of that.
Great, thank you all very much. All right, approval of minutes from December 9th, last Monday. Questions, concerns, comments, or a motion to approve? Can I make
I make a motion that the school committee vote to approve the December 9th, 2024 minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Great. Warrants.
I do have two
Yes.
this evening. A little bit of a blast from the past, a couple of the off weeks from school committee meetings. October 3rd, 2024, warrant for $325,959.49. And the October 31st, 2024, warrant for $256,139.54. And that catches us up.
All right. Any correspondences? None. Any other business that anyone has?
I guess, I don't know if it's other business or update, but,
What's your agenda items?
we're trying to coordinate we're working on our goal of communication, letting the community know everything going on. So I have spoken with Nicole and with Seth behind the scenes here to try to figure out what the best way to handle this. And ultimately, it comes down to us, what we want to do. We have the ability to to participate in the weekly calls. It can just be a school committee member. Seth's expert opinion is that we really focus on broadcasting what events are upcoming over the next week, whether it be something, a sporting event or anything going on at any one of the schools. Mm-hmm. The challenge with that is that we need to know what those things are. I think that shows the importance of this, because we don't even know what goes on a weekly basis necessarily. We have to kind of find it, I guess. I just know,
you can set like a template or something.
Yeah, so that puts a little bit of onus either on us to gather the data, or on some other method to gain all that information. Again, I want to get away from, I think sporting events are obviously important, but we need to make sure that we include everything that either the public is invited to, which, with the concerts over the last couple of weeks, and or just the great things that are going on in the school that maybe the public can't attend, just so they're aware of it. So again, that's kind of what I'm asking, is how we can facilitate gathering that data. And then I guess on a monthly basis, in addition to announcing, what's coming up, we might be able to maybe harness some of what Bill's Thursday thoughts are and say, these are great things that happened that we didn't necessarily announce in our, some of our student successes, things like that. So that's kind of what we talked about. It's really up to us, but we need to make sure that we can successfully deliver it. And Seth's willing to help with that. And if he's listening now,
he was just here. Oh, there he is.
He has some way to provide some of the happenings around the schools. Correct, Seth?
Yes, no, absolutely. I mean, I know there might be some concern over content on a weekly basis, but I can assist you with that, along with yourselves, and how on the town side, how we do it now is how we gather that information. So as Mr. Gates pointed out, the onus should not fall on you to figure everything out. There are resources for you to make all that happen. So I strongly recommend weekly. Now, it is a commitment. It's 9:30 a.m. every Monday morning. I send out a schedule. You can mix and match how you want. I usually go chair, vice chair, clerk, and from there. But I think it is worth it. And I can help you figure out. And these don't have to be long. They can be very quick. But I think there is a need. I think there's a desire to hear from the school side of in regards to information.
So for events, though, would we just share events that are open to the public?
I don't know, I think probably initially, yes, or no,
Well,
It's
goings
like
on.
what's open to the public.
no
Well, like
goings
the,
on.
you know, or what you could share out.
I think
Cushing
that's what we
School
need to.
had the history content, whatever it was, the history bowl this week.
Yeah, or
For
the
the
Model
students.
UN is going to
Yeah.
wherever.
It's not open to the public,
Okay.
but it, you know, maybe a mix would be good.
I was just looking at the app and seeing if like we could pull from there. So in theory, we should be able to pull from there for like concerts, sporting events, things like that, right? That can come from the app, hopefully.
Yeah. You can always come up with like a quick little template that we can all use so that we know.
But Seth, you can give us like let's say we're gonna start the first week of January. Could you give us a template of what you
Yeah,
have
absolutely.
available?
Absolutely. And I think that is the best way to start. You sort of have this skeleton outline, like these are the points we're going to hit. I think as I spoke with Mr. Gates about this too, is that the problem is you have 6 schools, you have a lot. But I think what you can do sort of at the almost every end of every update is say something to the effect of, look, you have your individual schools. You always go to sit.org. You can click each school. It goes to that calendar or show you all the individual events that are going on within your school. So you can highlight certain things in your update and then direct everyone to sit.org after that.
So would we have like a Google like spreadsheet or something with the dates, and maybe we can start signing up?
Yes, Seth usually sends it.
I will,
He just
yeah.
assigns it. He assigns it, and we can change it if we can't make it. Yeah.
That's what select board has.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So
In fact,
I guess
I'll send you a assuming you all agree to do it. I'll send you a schedule later this week that shows the dates. Again, you just email me back that just says, look, we got to swap this date. I'm not available. We can make it happen.
And then on a day where there's a holiday on a Monday, do you just not have it that week, or do you do it on a Tuesday?
We do it on Tuesday. We do it every week.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
We'll give it a shot. I mean, we'll give it a shot and see how it goes.
Sure.
Right?
And I do think that is exactly where you should start. And then maybe we revisit that monthly sort of all the great things that have just happened this past month. But I think that you will find doing it once a week, it will be extremely effective communication from the school system.
Great.
Ms. Brandolini, if you are still taking questions from the comment, you do have a hand raised. I'm not sure if you still want public comment. It's up to you.
Thank you, Seth. I would say if the hand is raised intentionally, please, you could email me at nbrandolini@set.org since we've already had our public comment period for this meeting. And I'll be happy to talk in that space. So that's nbrandolini@sit.org. All right.
I have a future agenda.
Future agenda item.
Well, just related to one of our other goals, we said we would have a data subcommittee and do some stuff on that. So I wasn't sure if we needed to vote on that, or if you want us to talk to you if we're interested and you just make up who's on that, or I'm just wondering what the next steps were.
Well, Harry, do you have more things on this?
No, I'm wondering what the rules. Well, I don't know what the bylaws are, because we usually do assignments at the beginning and then vote on it, and then because we had to do a vote to switch.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So,
Okay.
So I don't know
So
if there's a
future
rule.
agenda item.
Future agenda
vote on
item.
that.
Yeah. So voting on the
create
creation of a
and to-
data.
Populate.
I think we also need to work with Superintendent Burkhead to see how we want to work in collaboration with the schools too, because that's part of the reason we want to do it.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Put that one for next time.
And then I guess kind of relatedly, we probably want to have like another check-in point on our goals. Like it really should be like kind of quarterly-ish, you know, to kind of make sure we're making progress ourselves.
Okay. So we really got those on, we really approved those and we started them maybe what I'm thinking
now.
Yeah,
April.
within the last few weeks, so maybe, yeah, I was gonna say
Maybe
February or March, after the budget. So,
Yeah.
Okay, just like March, early March. Okay. Fantastic. Anything else?
I have a list, but no. Well, I think we should have Mr. Beatty back to talk about math. I would love to hear more about the like how they're doing with the assessments, and if he could bring, I don't know, some of the lead teachers or something to sort of talk about how that's going, how they're feeling, what are they learning, what feels different from last year. I'm just getting lots of questions
I am
from folks
too.
in the community, and I just think it would be great to have an open conversation rather than us trying to sort of partly guess and partly make it, make 10 meetings with him versus him just coming and bringing whomever.
Perhaps our new math chair would like to.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah. I just
That
feel like
might
they're
already be
implementing new
on the
curriculum, and I'd love to hear how it's going. And
I don't know if we know, I'm assuming our new math, yeah. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but if you potentially knew our calendar.
Yeah.
was
The calendar.
including
Oh, our calendar. Oh, but also the calendar.
the
Next year's
calendar.
calendar.
Oh, that.
Also that.
The big C, little
We
C.
would like to have that done
Calendar.
as soon as possible.
25.
But that should just be a standing agenda item probably for December, I think.
Yep, so he's coming back for the math.
January 13th is the math update
Great.
with Laura Simonak and Heather Allen.
Okay.
So if it's your wish to have Mr. Beatty back too, we can include him on that evening.
I think extending an invitation, and if he feels like he wants to come, I just think it's nice if he has things he wants to share. I don't think it's required if he has other people come, but just extending it.
Because they could probably read the character report on.
Yeah. And since he leaves the school and it's new, so.
Yeah. That works. I would balance that with also high school math. I think math,
Yeah.
secondary math is something that would be lovely to
Yeah.
hear more about.
Yeah, I know we're still like building up the data we collect at the secondary level in math, but we have some data, right? Even just like the assessments that are aligned with the curriculums that we're giving, you're giving tests, you're giving end of
Benchmarks.
unit, there's things that we could, in the absence of a norm reference, outside assessment, would still be maybe helpful to see, or I don't know, it's really hard sometimes to understand, like, I think we see these like big picture sort of bullet points and things like that, but absent numbers, and then we have our own experiences and the things we're hearing from other parents who are talking to us, and it's sometimes just really hard to situate either of those things without some numbers. So even if we're still waiting on a new assessment, I just wonder if there's anything that could be brought forth math-wise, even if it's a deeper dive into the MCAS. I know on the ELA side, writing was noted as like a district-wide weakness. Are there similar things in math that could be talked about?
In elementary.
Yeah, just in patterns, like just something to kind of situate conversations.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, I think also beyond the data, maybe this is a different time, and I'm not sure if it's the tech folks or the math folks or who it is, but like, I'd also like to hear more about, there's a lot of talk right now about the role of technology in schools and cell phone policies, and so I'm just really, I know I've brought it up, and it's not, I don't think it's just about me, but like, the struggle is real to get paper copies of things, and so I would just love to hear, like, I would like to better understand the educator perspective so that I can have empathy and not be so frustrated all the time, and so I would just love to hear, like, the conversations departments are having about how do we balance the need for our kids to learn technology, but also the need to make sure they're learning how to use pencil and paper to do long math problems. I think that's an important conversation that there's so much of it just sort of disappears in the ether of ST math and all of the stuff. But,
yeah.
So I think that would be something good to hear about.
For sure. Especially as related to the new curriculum, especially with textbook materials and workbook materials at middle and high school.
I mean, in some ways, it's different than writing that Maria's brought up, but in some ways, it's similar because like they're not like physically writing as much. Yeah.
Right, and all assessments are online. And,
I know. I said to
so
my
that
middle
balance
schooler
is
that day, I said, I want to see your handwritten. And he's like, it's on the computer. I'm like, I still want to see it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's a balance.
Right.
Yeah, so I think
just
it's,
don't
we're
feel like
smart to
gotcha.
be ahead of the curve of the balance of that.
Yeah.
But too heavy tech is not obviously gonna be the way we wanna go, but also we need to continue to have kids proficient in that, so.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Anything else, anyone? Carrie, wanna?
I'll stop for now.
Stop for now.
I'll save some other stuff for later.
Sure?
Yeah.
When are we gonna see each other next year?
See you next year.
Yeah, 2025.
I probably won't be here next.
You're not coming next
I
year?
might be, no. I might be virtual or not.
Okay.
All
Yeah,
right,
no
Peter,
worries. All right.
Bring us home, Peter.
Motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:36.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.